I'm Heather. I'm Floreo's Director of Customer Success, and I'm so excited to have our founder and CEO, Vijay Ravindran, with me here today. We're going to do an Ask Me Anything About Floreo with him. We have some prepared questions that some of our customers have already submitted, but I want to encourage you to make liberal use of that Q&A box and start peppering us with the questions. So Vijay, I'm going to just start with some basics here. Can you give us an overview of your background? Tell us where you came from, what you did before Floreo, all of that fun stuff.
Okay, well, I'm excited to do this. Yeah, so I grew up in Oklahoma, and my parents both immigrated from India during my father's PhD, and I went to the University of Virginia for undergrad. And I started out as a software engineer out of college. So I worked at a consulting firm that did really exciting customer care billing systems for big phone companies. So it actually was not very exciting as far as what we were building, but I got to travel to Europe and live in Dusseldorf, Germany early in my career, and then had the just mostly dumb luck of moving to Seattle, chasing love, and taking the first job I could find, which ended up being at Amazon in 1998. When people try to remember what was Amazon like, I will let them know that I joined. So it was after the books part and after music, but before the VHS tab was added. And so, I was at Amazon for 7 years. I worked on all sorts of things. During that time, the first version of Amazon's marketplace. I led the team that launched Amazon Prime, and then I left in 2005 to move to Washington, D.C. I got involved in democratic politics. I helped start a data mining company that's still going today called Catalyst that works closely with progressive organizations and campaigns. We ended up working very closely with the Obama campaign in 2008. And providing some valuable infrastructure. And then I was at the Washington Post company for 7 years as chief digital officer, to where I met Heather. One of the businesses I oversaw was an incubated startup called Trove that was building a new form of social and personalized news. It was a lot of fun. Unfortunately, we didn't get full escape trajectory, as happens with a lot of startups. And when it shut down, I left, and that takes me to Floreo.
So that's a good segue, actually, because people are asking rapidly in the chat, where did the name Floreo come from, and why did you choose that for the company name?
Yeah, well, credit to my ex-wife in that she, I believe, originally proposed the name. The name Floreo comes from the root of flourish in Latin. And so it basically, we were trying to come up with inspirational names of creating something that could help children reach their full potential, raise the ceiling. And our first attempt, and I can't remember why, so the first name proposed was Chev, like the cheese, and I didn't like it because it needed a special character to be proper, and then it felt like it was just going to be wrong if we didn't have the special character in the domain name, and so then the second choice was Floreo, and it stuck, and it felt really the right name from the moment it came into our heads.
I would agree. I think I'm glad that I'm not wearing a shirt that says chef right now, although I do like chef. Awesome. Okay, so diving into some insights about Floreo, we have a question from a potential customer who wants to know about using Floreo at home with their child, but they don't have the necessary equipment and the subscription cost monthly is high for them. What are their options?
Yeah, we've worked really hard to try to develop solutions that are accessible. I know that's not always true for people in a lot of different situations, but it inspired the original design of Floreo using smartphone-based virtual reality as opposed to some of the expensive headsets for that reason. I think what we try to encourage and what we continue to do is to discover new programs and access pathways for families to be able to access. And so I'm not sure which state, for instance, this family is in, but we're proud of the fact that in 5 states now we have been able to help families get to be able to use Medicaid waiver or self-directed reimbursement dollars to be able to pay for Floreo. It's also one of the reasons why licensing to school districts is really important, because they're often public access points that can reach a lot of families that otherwise are not able to access private health care the same way, or solutions that aren't covered in base insurance. And so that's really important. We haven't launched an Android smartphone version of Floreo. We're only on the iPhone. That's mainly because of the complexity of all the different flavors and types of phones that are out there. As it is, our small little team has to spend a lot of resources testing, and so we're mindful of that complexity. And the good news is that the Quest 2 headsets, the price has come down quite a bit. I think the standing price now is $199, and so that's there. The other thing that we're trying to do this year is right now the coaching app requires the iPad, and so that adds a cost in. And so we are working towards a browser-based version of the coaching app so that any device could potentially play the coaching role. And so that additionally would bring down some of the hardware costs. Lastly, I'd just say for anyone that's feels like they have an in on the equipment, but that monthly cost is too high, write in. We look at cases and try to do everything we can, and often we're able to figure out creative ways to get families started.
And you can write to us at support@floreovr.com, and we'll connect you with the right person. Okay, so to that end, is Floreo available outside of the US, specifically Canada in this case, but other countries too?
Floreo is available everywhere that the iOS App Store is available and can be used for downloading the software. For businesses, we have additional pathways through mobile data management software to also provide the Quest-based version of Floreo. We're now on the Pico Business Store for people who have access to the Pico headsets. And so Canada, definitely. Most other countries, yes, there's a handful of places where either because of U.S. export law and other things that we're not able to get into, but by and large, we're available everywhere. Really, the main limitation is that today we support English as the language, and we have an Arabic version, but there's lots of languages we don't support, and we're hoping to, over the next couple of years, be able to get to those.
Excellent. And we have a question about ADHD in the chat. So I'm going to start with a more simple ADHD question and then come to the one in the Q&A. So the first question is, does Floreo plan to create lessons for other diagnoses like ADHD?
Yeah. So we believe the current catalog has content that is applicable today for kids. There's content for planning, organizing, flexibility, which are key executive function areas that can be beneficial to children with ADHD. We also have emotional regulation content, which can be important in the context of kids who might have anxiety. So those are really important adjacent diagnoses to autism because of the high multi-diagnosis rate, or comorbidity as it's referred to, amongst kids who are neurodiverse. And so we do have content today. Beyond that, we absolutely are looking at new products in other conditions. The one we're most excited about in the near term is a collaboration with NIH, where we've developed a new ADHD product for building skill sets across several neurocognitive aspects of the ADHD diagnosis. It's in feasibility study right now in the Virginia, Maryland, DC area. So if you have a child, I think between 10 and 16, is that right?
That's right.
In the DMV and would like to participate in the NIH study, please reach out to Floreo and we can put you in touch with our principal investigator at NIH. But ADHD is on our roadmap and something we're really excited about, and we have a product that we think we need to let the study finish and make sure that it meets the criteria of quality that we want, but we're very excited about it.
And I want to just expand upon that a little bit with the Q&A question. So how do Floreo products help alleviate ADHD paralysis and overstimulation? And what tools do we have for adults?
Yeah, great. So on the first in the existing Floreo catalog, we have content around, again, planning and organizing and flexibility, and so these simulations that happen in different environments help build up some of the skill sets that are important in the context of day-to-day management of ADHD and developing strategies. The content that's in feasibility study right now, which is more game-like in nature, are actually games to build up abilities across working memory, processing speed, impulse control, and temporal information processing. And so those four areas have distinct gaming environments that we've co-developed with the research lab at NIH and looking forward to. As far as children versus adults, as I was sharing with my team earlier today, about a quarter of the existing Floreo population is over 18, so there are adults using it, but that doesn't necessarily answer the question, since what sometimes is also implied is the developmental level of the adults, and so that can vary quite a bit in the population we're serving. So the areas that we have focused on is on work skills and independent living skills. So in the catalog today, and some of this was built through a partnership with the Tennessee Department of IDD, we have lessons today on time management and teamwork and using the public transit system. We also have developed content around things like shopping at the grocery store, using TSA to go through airport security, different types of crossing the street scenarios. And so some of these end up being very applicable to an adult population. And we're always looking for new ideas. So if you have ideas around things you would like to see us develop, please write into either that support email address or support@floreovr.com or info@floreovr.com.
Awesome. So pivoting a little bit, what was one decision that you feel that you made was a turning point for Floreo?
Gosh, I mean, there's been so many. I mean, we're now in year 8 of a twist and turn journey that has been far more difficult than I could have ever imagined, but also far more rewarding. As far as key decisions along the way, I mean, I think early on, developing for smartphone-based VR rather than high-end VR headsets, I feel like we made a really good decision because we have a solution that's very versatile and can be deployed at different ages, and we've been able to take advantage of the accessibility and the fact that parents, teachers, therapists all know how to use iPhones and iPads. That structure has worked well. We made an early decision before the pandemic to go ahead and source hardware and be able to lease that to therapy clinics and school districts so that we could create a single box solution. And that was one of the first projects of one of our great executives, Crystal Levy, on the team. And I think that really helped smooth the process of accepting the Floreo system and not having to have so much more hardware complexity thrust on the customer to have to procure additional equipment. And so I'd point to the combination of those two decisions.
Excellent. And if you weren't the CEO of Floreo, what would you be doing?
Oh, that's a really hard one. I'd be trying to find, I mean, ever since I left Amazon, my true north has been, how can I make a really big impact in an area or cause I care about, using the skills that I picked up at Amazon and have been growing since? And I think, so I think it would have to be something that I felt had a social impact underpinning. And there's lots of areas where the world can benefit from more impact. So I would probably be hunting for that mission or finding a great leader that's already working on a mission that I can get behind.
Awesome. So Phil, who met you at ASU GSV last year, wants to know a little bit about Floreo's research so far. So he's doing a doctoral dissertation on the impact of AR and VR for students with intellectual disabilities, and he's wondering if we have any research completed about this, and also wondering if he can use Floreo as a basis for his qualitative research in this area. So he also wants to know how to set up a meeting with our research team. So complex question. Let me know if you need me to
Yeah.
repeat any of that.
Yeah. Well, so let's see if I catch all the major pieces and tell me if I missed something. I mean, going backwards, we'd be happy to. We work with a number of researchers, and uh, we love helping spawn and then support the Floreo system in use. And we learn so much when researchers put it into field and in a disciplined manner study how Floreo can make an impact. And so we'd be happy to to get you set up, and we have some pretty easy on ramps when it comes to that. Um, and as far as IDD, and I interpret the question to be that contrasting it with maybe autism and the fact that there are a lot of autistic individuals who wouldn't be classified as IDD versus some that would. We did the Tennessee partnership that was focused on IDD adults and job skills development. And the research happening right now for younger kids with Cortica that included our FDA feasibility study, includes kids at different ranges to the extent that IQ is being used as a way of identifying. So we have some research here. We can always use more, and I think where we are light for sure is on adults who are in this population, and we have some great content to be studied further. So would love to hear more.
Awesome. And you can also reach out to support at floreovr.com and we'll connect you with our research team. And
Yes.
we do have a section on our website about research too. So check that out if you haven't already. Okay, Vijay, I know you're going to love this question because this is right up your alley. Will Floreo be integrating AI into our platform, and will there be advancements in graphic quality? Also, is Floreo exploring integration of EEG biofeedback?
Great question. So the graphics quality will, as the devices become more powerful, we absolutely want to invest in highly engaging experiences for the learners who use Floreo, and often graphics can really help there. So especially as you look at older audiences. We've been limited because of the smartphone-based VR decision going back years ago, which I think was the right decision, has really been helpful, but it put limitations on what we could do in that compute environment. And so obviously virtual reality has come a long way in graphics processing and horsepower on a Quest 2 or Quest 3. And then of course you see something like the Vision Pro that is very powerful. And so there's a lot of opportunity to raise the bar there. I think the main governor there is that we want to do it in a way that doesn't leave behind all of the users that are using our smartphone-based system. And so we want to be careful about how we do it, and not in a manner that reduces access, because that's really important. As far as new biomarkers, and I guess I feel like there was, and then the other thing for AI. There's several different aspects of AI that are really exciting for the Floreo business. One we highlighted in an NPR segment last fall as part of the show 1A, where we showed off our character Marcy, who's going to be soon made available sometime this year for Floreo customers. And so what we're doing there that we think is really exciting is using voice recognition to hear what the learner is saying, and then using AI to power characters to be able to create more rich back and forth interactions between the character and the learner. And we think that has a lot of potential to create more dynamic experiences in our lessons, to also help the coach be focused on delivering the best feedback rather than having to spend a lot of time puppeteering through the interface, and to for the learner to be able to really build satisfying interactions if they take things quote unquote off script. And so that's something we're excited about. And there's a lot of considerations that go into deploying something like that with respect to things like HIPAA. So we have to be mindful of that, and it takes a little bit more time than throwing something out there. But the initial Marcy we want to put out there as a demonstration so that folks can see where we're going with that. And the other areas that AI are potentially powerful is that we can use some of the great generative AI approaches. There's starting to be some really good capabilities around 3D content. And so when you think of some of our lessons and being able to create varied environments that can maybe more match where the learner and coach are, as opposed to what we initially conceived. So imagine the street crossing, but doing it in a rural setting, or you're in the UK or the Bahamas, and you want to switch the cars to being left, right, and get the roads to match. And, so there's opportunities to really enable that without having to carry all of the cost burdens that go with that today. The third area is around the algorithms themselves. We have reports, we have recommendations, and we're looking at opportunities where AI can be used behind the scenes to create richer recommendations, more impactful, insightful reports. The last part of that was on biomarkers, and there too we had an exciting announcement a month ago with the acquisition of Autism Eyes from the Cleveland Clinic. That's leveraging the eye gaze biomarker, and that's technology that we're really excited about incorporating into Floreo. I think things like EEG or heart rate monitoring are interesting. And I think one of the things that made eye gaze detection particularly attractive is my belief that in the next 2 years, all the major headsets for VR will have eye gaze detection built in. And where I'm going with that is just to say that it's an important consideration, again, going back to the access and complexity issues that we were talking about earlier, that part of, I think, why we've been as successful as we've been so far is that we've tried to keep it as simple as possible. And so introducing, heart rate monitoring or some other measurement device, that's another piece of hardware that customers have to track, keep charged, make available. I think we're really mindful about Floreo only matters if it's being used and helping kids with their outcomes. And so we have to balance, I think, all of the really cool stuff that's out there that could be beneficial with making sure that it's something that our customers can use.
And I'm going to come back to the Cleveland Clinic stuff in a second because there's a good question in there. But I just want to clarify for an earlier question, can our lessons be customized according to a client's needs?
Customization today is something that is fairly limited. So we do allow some lightweight configuration around content. So if there's a conversation lesson, what topic are they going to talk about? There's some simple configurations right now. I think there's great potential in the future to be able to create more customization, having the characters potentially, more resemble the community of the individual. Being able to potentially upload scripts and being able to deliver those scripts back. And those are areas that we'd like to look into. We have a product roadmap that could be many, many miles long and take many years of effort. So we're trying to prioritize based on where we think the most opportunity is.
And now I am going to go back to Cleveland Clinic. So from what we can see by the investment by Cleveland Clinic, it's a big move for us. And what does that acquisition mean for the company going forward? What do you think Floreo will look like 6 to 12 months from now, or even beyond that?
Yeah, I think the Cleveland one, we're thrilled to be partnered with the Cleveland Clinic, to have them as an investor in Floreo. They're a first-class AAA health system and doing cutting-edge research. We are specifically thrilled about the Autism Eyes technology because we really do think it's incredible IP and research. It has the the research spans a wide age range. It's looking at both assessment and diagnostics. And so we think there's incredible potential of how that can be incorporated. Um, you know, our roadmap for the Autism Eyes technology intersects with our roadmap for virtual reality. So we're this company is about VR for the neurodiverse, and so we're very focused on how this can be incorporated into VR and how it can then be used to serve the neurodiverse community. And so, what you'll see in the next 6 to 12 months is some really important work in developing a VR-based version. And there's going to be some really important decisions that we're not making right now about how best to then build a product that can be used by existing customers or new customers. As you can imagine, there's important investments we'll need to make on research and potentially thinking about certain product lines needing regulatory approvals and such. And so lots of considerations that probably span beyond 12 months. But as far as where the product is, I think it's the vision of doing something like this is that the more we can create capability for our customers, the more that they can benefit from the technology. And so to be able to, in one package, be able to one day deliver diagnostics, treatment, which of course is down its own path right now, and hopefully something that we'll have FDA approval on by the end of the year, combined with then assessment on showing that, and I've seen this firsthand, like that families make incredible investments in time and logistics to have a child go through therapy. And for a therapy center or a school to be able to then be able to, in a very lightweight manner, understand how that therapy is impacting them in a positive way is, I think, a really important data point. And that's a very hard thing to do today.
So I know you're going to like this question too, because I've heard a little bit of your thoughts on the Apple Vision Pro. So is it possible to get Floreo on the Apple Vision Pro yet? And we have another question that's outside the Q&A. What are your thoughts on the Apple Vision Pro?
So a big fan of the Vision Pro. I use it pretty frequently. I found myself personally very productive, spending time when I have solitary time to work on email and other to-dos. I find the Vision Pro to be a very productive environment to work out of. So big fan there. I think the potential is really, really big. As far as where Floreo is today, you can run the coaching app in Vision Pro. I'm not sure why you would want to, but it is available there. What you probably are asking for is the virtual reality part of Floreo running in Vision Pro yet? Not yet, but it is something we're starting to work on. We want to support it, and we think there's quite a bit of potential. One of the reasons we want to support it is because of that eye gaze detection that I mentioned earlier. So when we think about where we're going with our own roadmap in integrating the Autism Eyes acquisition from Cleveland Clinic, the Vision Pro, along with the MetaQuest Pro and the Pico Neo 3 Pro, which also have eye detection built in, are all target devices for an integrated experience. As far as the Vision Pro beyond that, I think it has the potential to be a augmentation for every office knowledge worker to be more productive based on my own personal usage. And so, a couple of years from now, once the cost is down a little bit and there's even more apps and integrations back into your laptop and other devices, I think the sky's the limit, that it could be something that really helps round out what's on everyone's desks.
And we have a few questions about the Quest. Do you want to address why it is not exactly easy to get Floreo on a Quest right now?
Yeah, so Floreo has been trying, but not been successful getting into the App Lab or App Store. We've been focused on the App Lab. We're trying again soon. And we have supporters within Meta who are also trying to help us get there. So, I think The Floreo system is different than maybe a run-of-the-mill VR game. And so you can imagine there's lots of different considerations that if you're operating an app store that you might want to make sure things fit. And so we're doing the best we can to get there. If you are an individual who's very keen on using the Quest and you already have a Floreo subscription or you will pay for one, we do have a limited number of tokens we can provide to get you early Quest access. Of course, for enterprises through mobile data management, you can get to the Quest today. And so, it's definitely a key part of the future, and it's an affordable, powerful headset.
A couple questions about content. So for one of our customers that just started, she is wondering what the easiest programs are for someone who is maybe at an 18 to 24 month developmental age.
Yeah, the emotional regulation content has been a starting point. So one of our customers, Bancroft, really focuses on this population, and they had some great presented research at ABAI last May on work that they were doing. They studied over 100 individuals with profound autism to look at acceptance of the headset and preference of it versus 2D type content. Lessons used included our emotional regulation. We have body regulation related content that take place in a yoga studio. So those were used. But lastly, I'll just say that if you have any questions about what content might make sense for a certain population, write in. We have trained experts on staff who are eager to help. And this is an area where also from a product roadmap standpoint, we know we have to build better and better tools to help customers navigate our growing catalog. We have over 200 lessons now. It's hard to find the right lessons and match it to different individuals. And so we know over the next year we need to make that easier.
And I know our director of therapy content will be jumping up and down at this question. Will there eventually be young adult characters added to Floreo in the near future so that older learners feel that they can relate and identify?
So yes, and I think we have some coming fairly soon, but I think this is an area that we've heard loud and clear. We need more characters, more varied age ranges. One of the biggest strengths of VR is how learners can work on peer-to-peer skills with peers that look like them developmentally, and that's a big advantage over traditional therapy where it's all adult to child essentially. And so it's a great opportunity for us and one that we're hoping to take advantage of. And we've made a lot of investments to bring down the complexity of adding new characters and being able to create more content quickly.
And is Floreo considering the needs of students who use AAC devices?
This is an area where there's a lot of opportunity, and we'd love ideas from the community on how best to do that. I'll tell you the one idea that I've been thinking about, but we haven't prioritized it yet, is whether to incorporate the AAC interface directly inside of the VR experience, and maybe something where if you glance down, you get access to the type of interface that you'd be used to on an augmented device for communication. And so we'd love to hear ideas there. I know that for certain customers today, the kids will take off the headset to utilize the AAC device. That's obviously not very convenient. It's one of the reasons why I am excited also about Vision Pro. Once you introduce hand tracking, there's opportunities to potentially create lightweight ways to access interfaces and be able to do the type of interactions they would do on an AAC device. In fact, on a Vision Pro, if the AAC device can run on an iPad, I think there might be even some split screen opportunities for us once we get Floreo implemented, where a learner could flip back and forth between their AAC interface and while being in their Floreo environments. And so those are some of the things that are possible in the Vision Pro that has not been possible before in VR.
We're going to pivot back to you a little bit. Can you talk a little bit about your journey as an entrepreneur? What were the key defining moments in going from ideation to product? And what advice do you have for other entrepreneurs?
All right. Yeah, it's interesting. prior to starting Floreo, I would not have classified myself as an entrepreneur because, when I started Amazon, Amazon was already a company. And so though I was, one of the first, few dozens of software engineers at the company, it was still, the company running. And same with the Washington Post. The Democratic startup was very early, but I didn't open the bank account. I wasn't, I was I was one of the first employees, but I didn't consider myself a founder in that way. And so, starting Floreo really started with, working on this idea because I was really motivated to because of my own family situation. And then building Floreo as a company really started from this feeling that if I didn't build it, I didn't think anyone else would. And so in many ways, I feel like I backed into being an entrepreneur because I really wanted to build Floreo, and I thought it had incredible potential to be beneficial to the community, but not so much because I had a startup dream or some of the ways that when I encounter other entrepreneurs, they're like born to be an entrepreneur, or they absolutely wanted to do a startup, and that was never, I've oscillated between small companies and big companies throughout my career, and I kind of like it that way. So I think there was a second part of that question that I might not have touched on.
What advice do you have for entrepreneurs?
Yeah. Probably the biggest one is you have to love your idea because you're going to be living with it all the time. It's going to be a significant amount of your stress. And I think one of the things that I tell folks is that if you completely fall on your face or lightning strikes and you have built the next Instagram, it could be a short experience where in a couple of years you have something great happen. But for the rest of us, you're going to be working on this for a very long time. And so when you start a company, you kind of have to think of it as a 10-year proposition. And that, there's lots of reasons why it might fail before that, but success is likely to come after that and not before. And so you have to really love what you're working on, because you can't, once you're in it and you have investors and you have a staff depending on you, you can't just give 2 weeks notice and walk away the same way you might a traditional job. And so once you're in it, you're in it. And if you have a high sense of responsibility as I do, then you want to see it through as long as it takes.
And you're welcome to the anonymous attendee who said, thanks for doing this AMA. Yes, thank you, Vijay, for doing this. But the question here is, what is your favorite thing about your company culture at Floreo?
Oh, great. Great thing. I think Floreo is special because I think everyone that's here could be somewhere else and is here because of the mission and the impact. Some of us are here because we have a direct family connection to neurodiversity or a personal connection that draws us. Some of the folks here do not, but I think what everyone shares in common is that this incredible opportunity to help and make a positive impact. And there are a limited number of jobs out there, unless our healthcare trained staff is a little different. But when I'm talking about everyone who's not a clinician or a therapist on the Floreo team, there's lots of jobs that we could be doing that are in fields where it's much more commercial in nature and less impactful to people. And so to be able to work in a space where you do have that impact is really special. And so that shines through. If I could get a second one in there, is that we have prioritized, and I think it's really reflected in diversity on our staff, both at the leadership level and throughout the team. And I think it means a lot that we have a highly diverse team.
That was actually an outside question outside of the Q&A about how you've incorporated DEI at Floreo and in your career.
Yeah, it's something that's been important all the way back to my time at Amazon. Very early on, I helped in several diversity efforts during those early days, and I think a lot of there's really two aspects that are really important. I think the first is that you have to consciously choose to hire for diversity as part of how you approach, and that we've done that from day one, and it's helped build a great diverse staff. And then the second is that you have to encourage a company culture that is accepting of people from different backgrounds and not encouraging a particular style of working or a particular way of banter or all these elements that can, and this is something that, as someone who's been used to being a minority from the time that I was in Oklahoma growing up, something that I'm very sensitive to. And so I think we've been able to build a team that carries that as well.
So, and what's a mistake you made early on in your career, and what did you learn from it?
So, I mean, I think like most people, lots of mistakes were made. And, but, focusing on, career mistakes, I think one of the earliest lessons I had in my time at Amazon is being afraid to step up into jobs that I thought I was going to fail at, rather than being confident enough that I would pick it up. I was young. There was lots of opportunity opening up around me, and there were a couple of instances where I hesitated in wanting to take on more responsibility early on that I could have, it meant that I didn't grow as fast as I could have. I didn't have as much impact for that next year that I could have, I was able to, I think, internalize that and start to be more confident in not quite fake it till you make it, but I do believe there's a certain amount of attitude around, yeah, I'll pick that up.
And what's something new that you're learning right now? And it doesn't have to be work related.
I mean, work is definitely all consuming. So
I heard you read a book recently.
that's right. That's right. So I've been reading. So as far as what's the last book I read? I just finished The Three Body Problem, and I started watching the Netflix series. But then I found out that parts of the book two are in season one. So now I have book two, and I'm reading that. And I stopped watching the series until I could finish. The Three Body Problem was super interesting because it was neat to read a book written by a Chinese author for a Chinese audience in science fiction, and the translator's notes are almost as interesting as the book itself to learn about Chinese culture in a way that I wouldn't otherwise. I actually just this morning came back from the Chinese embassy because the World Economic Forum has an event in China in June, and I've applied for my visa because we're a tech pioneer for World Economic Forum, and I'm going to be going to Dalian in June, and so that's probably the area that I'm excited to learn about the most. Last fall, I was able to take my first trip to Saudi Arabia, and that was also really a great learning experience to be in a very different culture.
I don't know how you have time to read books. I've seen your schedule, so I'm impressed. Another fun one. What are your sports teams? Because you're a big sports fan.
Yeah. So Oklahoma Sooners is the dominant sports team. Football, basketball, softball, gymnastics. Though we didn't win the national championship this year in that. And then as far as pro teams, I've had a mixed relationship with the Oklahoma City Thunder, but I've come around because I lived in Seattle for 7 years, and Oklahoma City stole the Sonics, and so it was a very conflicted. But now I've come around. Enough time has passed that it's healed the wound, and I'm willing to be a Thunder fan. And then beyond that, I basically follow teams that have Oklahoma players. So I'm currently a Cardinals fan and a Buccaneers fan and an Eagles fan because they all have Oklahoma quarterbacks. And similarly, I follow the Hawks because of Trae Young. So it's basically all kind of springs from Oklahoma.
Fair enough. How can someone see a live demo of Floreo and its use cases for non-speaking adults?
Yeah, please write in. I think we have folks ready to provide demonstrations if they're looking to license Florio into their practice or school. If you're looking at it from the context of a family, let us know what you're looking for. If we don't have a video on this, we're happy to cut one and make it available to families. And I think we know that there's opportunities to build a meaningful product in that space, and I think that goes part and parcel with some of the feedback on trying to think about incorporating AAC devices and important aspects like that.
And we kind of went over this a little bit, but just to make sure it's covered completely, is there a way to have more lessons, more higher level lessons? How does that work?
Yeah, so that's why things like the AI characters could be really important because they could help facilitate more rich conversations and interactions. We are constantly looking at new content opportunities that can meet that. So, feedback's really appreciated if there are particular scenarios or life challenges that are important to build teaching around. And they are of these higher level or more sophisticated styles. We're all ears, 90% of our catalog has been built from customers asking for something after they've understood the power of VR, and what Floreo could do. And so, we continue to build on that mantra. This is not the catalog today is not built because there was some detailed pedagogy that was first devised, and then we build lessons to fill in that curriculum. It's really been built based on customer demand in a more ad hoc manner, because we want to go where the opportunity is. Generally speaking, the teachers and therapists know what they're doing well and know where the opportunities are, where they could do better if they had better technology assisting them, and that's where we want to be.
And I know we're coming close to the end of time here, but I want to make sure that we talk a little bit about the CPT-3 code that Floreo sponsored last year. And can you just talk a little bit about why it's important for our clinic customers to consider adding that to their billing practices?
Yeah, so the CPT, and for those who are not living in the healthcare space, current procedure terminology, it's basically the coding sheet that healthcare providers use when they're doing, essentially producing a bill to insurance. The CPT-3 code is designed that we have pushed through the AMA in 2022 and is now in effect, is available for any clinic. There's a set of qualifying parent codes that need to be present as well, such as ABA speech, OT, PT, therapy session codes. And if you're using Floreo and you're billing on those codes like 97153 for ABA, please add the CPT-3 code 0770T. You can then quote a retail price for adding VR into your practice. And even if the payer is not immediately reimbursing you, it's very important both for you and the community long term. And the reason why is because without that code, the commercial and Medicaid insurance world is not aware that you have taken the trouble of investigating a solution like Floreo and that you care about improved outcomes. And so when you're making this investment in Floreo already, this is your way of signaling to insurance that you're using it. And as we build up the research base that is starting to get bigger and bigger, showing that if you use Floreo, kids are going to get to outcomes faster than they would if you don't. And so you using that code then creates the communication back to the world of insurance that you are differentiating yourself. And we are working very hard on FDA approval and the research base needed so that one day, without a lot of effort, money also can flow back to the provider for that. But the first step is that signaling, and And in certain cases, depending on certain payers, there's the possibility of reimbursement. We haven't seen that just yet, but we need more of you testing the plumbing and seeing what goes through.
And another question from a family who is thinking about using Florio. So this person's son has autism. He's verbal, and it looks like the content that Florio has is geared more towards younger and less communicative individuals. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, I think that's referring back to what we were saying earlier. I think it's an area of lots of opportunity for Florio. I don't think we're particularly strong, and so I think the observation of the person who wrote in is spot on. It's where a character like Marcy and using AI combined with voice recognition, I think, is going to be really powerful because we'll be able to essentially create some really rich interactive environments that can meet the person where they are. So if they want to go deep on world history or politics, that there's the potential of being able to facilitate those types of conversations in manners that just haven't been possible before.
And another question about the Vision Pro and AI. What is your action advice for a parent who believes the Vision Pro and AI can help their child, but knows the software is not there yet?
Yeah, I mean, the Vision Pro right now is not something that unless you're a knowledge worker, I don't think there's enough there to buy it right now. At that price point, the Quest 2, Quest 2 and Quest 3 are great values and have a lot of content. They don't necessarily have a lot of professional, experiences around health and wellness, but they have some, and soon we'll be able to make it really easy to add Florio to it one way or another. And I think it's a great starting off point. As far as AI, it's really about how those applications incorporate AI to create richer experiences. So you kind of have to wait for the curve. Like I mentioned earlier, I think one of the things that all of us have to work through is how to use AI in a manner that also adheres to the types of privacy principles that are inherent in therapy and healthcare. And so, that's something we also have to work on.
It's been really great questions this afternoon, and there's one more
awesome.
in the Q&A. Before I get to that last one, because I think it's a good one to end on, is there anything that you would share with the audience that they haven't asked?
Oh man. I think we've covered a lot of great things. No, I don't think anyone's asked on staff training, and so that would be a good thing to talk about. We're really excited about a partnership we have had with Nicholas Children's out of Miami, where we co-developed a set of trainings for nurses and ER doctors to be able to work with neurodiverse individuals in different types of stressful situations. And it's something that for Floreo customers, if you're interested in getting a demonstration of, we should be set up really soon to be able to demo what we have so far. And I think it's pointing towards a really great future application of VR that is outside of the therapy healthcare delivery side and more to the training side of being able to simulate some of the complex situations that teachers, parents, and therapists all deal with, and that we want to come up with the most humane and compassionate methods for helping the neurodiverse community in every situation. And I think there's an incredible opportunity for VR as a practice and simulation environment to fill that.
All right, last question before we go today. How does a busy CEO like you unwind after a long week?
Well, I have two busy kids, and so I have a bifurcated life because I have split custody of my kids. So if it's a kids' weekend, it's like every parent, there's lots of activities, and your schedule is usually fairly set. But I love making pizzas, so I love making crust from scratch. One day I will own a brick pizza oven in my backyard, and then I'm going to be really dangerous. And then if it's a non-kid weekend, I generally use Saturdays to catch up on those Saturdays to catch up on work. But I definitely love my sporting events, and then I love hitting the tennis courts.
I'm going to convert you to a pickleball player. I'm on a mission.
I don't know. I'll lose all my friends.
Well, thank you, Vijay. This was really fun. And I hope we can do it again in the future. And thank you, everyone who joined us. You guys asked great questions. And if you have questions after this hour is up, then please email us support@floreovr.com and we will connect you with the right team member.
Yeah, thank you so much. This has been great. Thank you, Heather.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great rest of your day.